Link. Test. Test. Where is Brian? I invited him. Who's live with me? Somebody's live with me. We're just waiting for Brian to get on. I've got one viewer say something. Hello. Oh, hashtag no rest days.
Yeah.
Isn't that how it's supposed to go?
Yeah, hashtag my wife's on a call too, so I'm hoping my internet works at her.
All right on. Well, it sounds like you're ready for a rest day.
Yeah, I had a bit of a late night last night. Had the boys all day this morning, so let's say it's a very timely subject to talk about recovery.
Yes, that's good. It is probably for me too. I know I am trying to recover from this morning's workout still.
Yeah, my workout was chasing toddlers around.
That's quite a workout.
Yeah, it can be when you're old like I
am. Well, I know that you're what, 38 years young?
I'm 40 now, sir.
What?
Oh yeah.
When did you grow up?
I grew older. I don't know if I
grew up. Well, that's the important thing, is not to grow up as you get older, right?
True. Yeah. We should all strive for that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Right on. Well, hey, welcome back, and this is episode number 8 of the FTF Health and Fitness Podcast, and today we're going to talk a little bit about rest and recovery, and how to take care of yourself in between, not necessarily just workouts, but life, because life is, as we know, can be extremely challenging and can tax you, and so can workouts. So rest and recovery is extremely important, and even hashtag no rest days. I want to talk about that and why that's probably one of the most ridiculous hashtags out there.
Well, yeah, you can do it when you're
20. Yes, yeah. As you get older, recovery and rest become much more important and much more conducive to your results.
Well, true. I think the past few episodes we've had, and many of the other ones that we had in the past, we've always talked about how a proper training plan is not just providing the stimulus to your body, but providing that stimulus and then giving your body a chance to recover from it.
Yes, for sure.
It's the recovery that makes you stronger, faster, and all those other adaptations that you're looking for.
Well, the adaptions too. I mean, whichever one you want to do, adaptate or adapt, it will work as long as you're recovering. So let's talk a little bit about what recovery is, and kind of dive into the topic of different ways to recover, and is that different than resting, active rest versus passive rest, so on and so forth. So where would you like to start today, Brian?
Well, I think, again, taking it back to the, keep it simple thing, like we said, when you're looking to make adaptations with your body, you have to provide the stimulus, but the most important part of it is the recovery and letting yourself, rest and recover and build back up and make those adaptations that you're looking for, whether it's strength or whether it's power or whether it's speed, whether it's, body composition changes. That recovery is the most important part.
For sure.
Because it's not really that complicated to stress your body, but to recover can be kind of a complicated thing, I guess.
So what do you mean by recovery? What does that mean to you, as far as when we're talking about Is that time off between workouts? Is that just going to sleep? Is that taking care of your body? What is recovery and what is entailed in recovery?
Well, like I said, it can be much more complicated than the stress that you're putting on your body, because it is everything outside of those training sessions. So it is absolutely sleep. It's proper nutrition. It's proper rest. It's proper active recovery. It's proper mobility training. It's a lot of different things, and you kind of have to really concentrate on your recovery to make sure that it's as productive as possible.
Okay, so let me ask you this, because we know that there's so many different components to recovery. When you are training for a specific goal, let's just say I'm going to throw out endurance in this case, because um, I think when we start talking about recovery, we have to also understand recovery is different for every goal.
Oh, absolutely it is. Absolutely.
So recovery for endurance may not be as aggressive as it may be for something like hypertrophy training, where you need between 5 and 7 days of rest in between doing a certain body part, or like strength training, same thing. You need 5 to 7 days of recovery for that particular muscle group to truly get a fully recovered muscle before you tax it again. And we're talking maximal strength. We're not talking like kind of our programming. We do squats here and there, and when you're doing 1 rep maxes, that's when you need that 5 to 7 days of recovery. If you're doing anything less than that, you adjust your recovery time based on the loads and what you're doing to your body. So.
Well, and especially when you're talking about if you're doing a maximal strength, if you're looking for strength gains, a lot of that recovery, a lot of those adaptations are much more neural than they are, physical. You're not taxing the muscles so much as you're taxing your neural system, your nervous system.
Sure.
So that can take a lot more recovery, because it's a very complicated system. So when you're taxing just the physical parts of your body, like you would in endurance, when you're fit, you're taxing your cardiorespiratory system, you're taxing the muscles themselves. Strangely, the structural stuff is a lot easier for your body to adapt to than taxing your nervous system, like you would be doing in a strength program or an Olympic lifting program. Power and stuff like that. It's tougher for your body to recover neurally than it is to recover physically, which always sounds strange. Like, well, okay, I'm taxing my nervous system, so I'm just taxing, my battery, my wiring, which always seems simpler, but it's much more complex for your body.
Well, it's interesting too, because I think you can kind of put this into almost like studying for finals. Let's put it that way. Like, everybody studies hard for finals, and then after finals week, they're just like, your body just it almost goes into a shutdown mode. The immune system is taxed, and all of a sudden you get sick. And it's
because I mean, we always think of your body as this physical system, but it's the wiring that really makes your body run. And when you tax your wiring, you're taxing your entire body, even though you may not feel tired. You're taxing the most complex system in your body.
For sure. And to kind of go into that, when you talked about like strength training and Olympic lifting training, that kind of stuff is extremely neural. And then you start talking about this kind of goes down a different road a little bit, but like hypertrophy training. So talking about different types of failure in the body, and especially in fitness, as it pertains to recovery, you have more or less 3 to 4 different types of failure. There's neurological failure, which is you can't recruit any more neurons to lift weight. There is psychological failure, which is us going, ouch, this hurts, I've got to stop. And then there's true muscle failure, which is there's so much waste metabolites built up in the muscle that it can't move anymore. So when you're talking about recovery, each one of those has its own type of recovery, like hypertrophy. Truly, what you're looking for is and this goes out to James Fink, who I know is listening right now. But what you're truly looking for a muscle failure rather than a neurological failure when you're going into hypertrophy training. And endurance training, a lot of times with endurance training, it's more psychological, and you don't necessarily achieve muscle failure, but that's because of the types of muscle fibers that you're taxing in endurance training. So there's when Brian says that there's a lot to this recovery stuff, it's because, again, it's a complicated system. And so understanding what your goal is going to help you to manage how much or what you're going to do to recover. And I think that's going to be an important thing to understand. And I think it's important for people to look at when they are asked questions about recovery. How do I recover? What do I do to recover? What's your goal? Right? Like it kind of
it always comes down to that. What is your goal? What are you looking to achieve with your training program? Are you looking to achieve, maximal endurance? Are you looking to achieve maximal strength? Because those are very different stresses on your system, and you're going to have to recover in different ways to accomplish those things.
For sure. Okay, so I asked a question in our group. What are some rumors that you've heard about recovery, tricks you have for recovery, or things you do to recover? And I've got 2 people so far. Lauren says that she drinks chocolate milk and sleeps for recovery. Truly.
Well, that's not bad, depending on what adaptation you're looking for.
Truly not at all. And she's actually an endurance athlete. So those 2 things actually go pretty well for endurance. And then Fink just responded to it, says the rumors he's heard is you got to lift heavy to build mass and strength, which those are 2 different things. Mass and strength are 2 different things.
Very much so, yes.
Cardio is the best way to lose weight, which that is a good rumor out there, and you'll injure yourself doing anything intense. And that's another rumor out there as well. And so interestingly, when you start talking about recovery, those all pertain in a different way and in a different fashion. So let's talk a little bit about different ways to recover. We understand that there's goal-based recovery, and goal-based recovery we can talk about with individuals if you have questions about how to recover. But let's talk about some general ways that we can teach people to recover. What are some things that you've used with your clients in the past, or tricks or tips or things that you've taught people about recovery?
Well, one of the biggest parts of recovery, especially if you're doing something, and this is both really, if you're doing something neurally, if you're doing something structurally where you're taxing your body, the most important part of your recovery is going to be good sleep. Absolutely. Very second to that is going to be, proper nutrition, proper, helping your body to make those structural changes or those neural changes. So the nutrition is going to be very important as well. But honestly, one of your most important recovery strategies is getting good sleep.
So that's different for everyone. What are some general recommendations for getting good sleep?
Well,
not that you do it, but
no, I'm terrible at it, honestly. Especially after the military and everything else, and anxiety issues that I have. Sleep is not a great thing for me, which is unfortunate because it is one of the most important parts of good recovery and honestly just good health overall.
Absolutely.
But, there are definitely certain things you can try to do to make it as possible. Limiting screen time before bedtime is very important. Limiting any type of sources of electromagnetic radiation, your phone or your alarm clock or your TV or, all those different types of things will emit electromagnetic radiation that you don't want when you're trying to sleep because it messes with your sleep patterns.
So you're saying I'm not supposed to put a magnet up to my head right before I go to bed?
Well, at least not your phone.
Okay.
The magnet might actually help because it's going to probably draw blood to your brain, but that's a whole other
Is that because I'm a leadhead?
weird type of thing.
Yeah.
No, it's the iron in your hemoglobin. It's the iron in your blood, which is where all that kind of, wearing magnets and stuff like that comes from. Is it will draw blood flow, but that's a whole other kind of woo-woo type of thing.
Okay.
But electromagnetic radiation, your phone or your TV or anything plugged in really is going to emit that type of thing. And if you can cut down on those things, not having your phone, on your nightstand, I say phones because they emit so much, because there's so many things going on in the background in your phone and all that. So if you can put your phone, out in a different room or whatever, and not have it by your bedside, you're going to get better sleep.
So what about this? So I have a pair of blue blockers that I wear when I play Call of Duty now. So I look like a true nerd.
Yeah.
So what about the blue blockers? Are those something that help? I don't know enough about the technology behind blue blockers, but I know it has something to do with blue light and the blue light that screens emit. Does that help?
I would say it will. And like I said, limiting screen time before you go to sleep is a good thing, because that blue light is kind of what starts revving things up in your brain. And especially right before you go to sleep, you don't want your brain revved up. You want it to relax and, kind of shut things off and get good sleep. So, and there's a lot of companies these days that will make blue light filtering glasses and stuff like that, which is good if you can figure it out. One of the problems I've been trying to figure out in my own life is I work on a production floor, so we have screens and stuff that we look at quite a bit, and
probably big old fluorescent lights too.
A lot of fluorescent lights.
Yeah.
And I don't like them. We're slowly switching over to LEDs because they're a much less harsh type of light. But the blue light and the type of energy that radiates does kind of rev up certain parts of your brain that you would rather have revved down when you're trying to go to sleep. So I've not found any kind of safety rated glasses that will filter blue light yet.
Yeah.
Look.
What about have you heard of this thing called red light therapy?
Yeah. And again, that's just a different spectrum of light. And a lot of that is more geared towards body fat loss and stuff like that, because the red light will excite certain other mechanisms in your body. Body fat loss and stuff like that, because the red light will excite certain other mechanisms in your body.
So is it almost maybe a recovery thing? Could people use it as a recovery type thing?
That I don't specifically know about. I know it's very good for revving up metabolism and things like that. But as far as recovery, I don't know specifically.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll do some research and we can come back to that one.
I think as far as recovery, you want as little light as possible. If you can sleep in a perfectly black room, blackout curtains and all that type of thing, the less light you can have entering your system is going to be better.
So maybe using like those eye masks or whatever to cover your eyes, stuff like that.
I would say that is probably a very good strategy. Yeah.
So
the least light you can have entering your eyeballs and therefore your brain is going to be better.
Well, and some of the other things that I've recommended for people with their sleep is getting into like a nighttime routine. I know that's difficult for like my profession. We don't have necessarily a routine when we're at the station, so I usually stay up a lot later when I'm at the station. But at home, I try to relax before bed, watch a little TV, lay in bed, and you really only want to use the bed for two things. Sleep and sex. I mean, that's really what your bed is designed for, because you start to associate you have associations. Your brain makes associations. So if you study in your bed, for those of you that are in school or um, maybe taking some classes or whatever, if you study in bed, your brain starts to associate that with your bed, and so that is another concern or challenge for people is you should really only use your bed for two things, which is sleep and sex. Um, I would suggest getting rid of the TV in the bedroom if you can. I know my wife and I enjoy watching TV show before we go to bed. It's kind of our way of just kind of taking the day and going, but at that same time, we're using the TV is pretty far away from us, and we're just using it as kind of a way to kind of decompress at the end of the day. Um, so things like that, making sure you have a nighttime routine that you go through, which will put your body into that pattern of okay, this is the bedtime routine, which means it's time for sleep. Things like that can definitely help with getting good sleep. And there's a lot of different ways. I mean, you've heard things like drink milk before bed. You've heard things like drink chamomile tea. So there's all kinds of sleep remedies out there, and I think that that's something that later on down the line when we go into sleep management, which I know is something I keep pushing for. Uh, yeah, so I know that that's something that we can go into. Hey, Brian, I think we probably need to take a break. I've got to go take care of some things at the station here. So why don't we break and pick it up in a little bit?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. Why don't we text later and we'll figure out another time?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Later.
All right, later, brother.
Stop.